Thanks for joining us for this webinar dedicated to T+1. You can ask a question in the chat. Our expert will answer them at the end of the presentation. If we do not have enough time to deal with all the questions, do not hesitate to contact your relationship manager. So I leave the floor to our speaker.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are based. And welcome to CACEIS webinar related to the T+1 implementation of T+1 regulation in Europe, UK, and Switzerland. I am Kamel Torki, and I'm leading the T+1 initiative for CACEIS Group. This initiative is meant to be implemented by October 11/27 for the 3 jurisdictions in scope. i.e. it means 668 days from today onwards, which may sound very far away, but you will realize straight after this session that the clock is already ticking for all market participants, which may be buy or sell side or market infrastructure, especially if an internal project has not been launched yet. So we have started meeting our clients since March this year in order to educate them. And the idea of today is the same. It's not at all to scare you, but to raise your awareness of all the impacts, the key tasks to be undertaken, and how CACEIS can help you overcoming the key challenges ahead. So for today's session, I will act as a moderator and co-presentator, where I will give you a flavor of where the regulations stand and, as said, the challenges ahead. I'm also joined by our experts who will deep dive into the solution that we are planning to provide you in order to ensure for your smooth transition through T+1. So let's start with the introductions of our experts. For execution to custody, we have Pascal Thiol.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Pascal Thiol. I'm Paris-based, and I'm representing coverage. I've been with the bank for 20 plus years, and I'm here to answer your questions.
Perfect. For middle office, you have Mark Baxter.
Yes, hello there. Mark Baxter. I've been with CACEIS for the last 18 months. I work within the IMS, or Investment Management Service Department, and I'll be providing an overview of how the middle office trade management service can assist in the T+1 landscape and changes.
So for FX, we have Attila Torma.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Attila. I work as a FX sales trader in the dealing room of CACEIS Bank. I'm based in Luxembourg. I'm happy to accompany you today with the FX-related points.
And for sec lending on borrowing, we have Olivier Zem.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Olivier Zem. I'm in charge of the sec lending from the execution point of view. I've been in this industry for the last 20 years or so, and I've been working for CACEIS for the last 6 years.
Thank you, everyone. So let's crack on. So first of all, let's start with what is T+1? So T+1 is the settlement cycle which is currently used for to trade securities which are listed and traded on trading venues. We are talking mainly about equity and bonds and all equivalent. And this settlement cycle applies already in the US since May last year, where cash and securities are exchanged one day after the transaction has occurred between the asset manager and brokers. In Europe, actually, and UK and Switzerland, cash and securities are exchanged 2 days after the transaction date, which is the so-called T+2. This one-day difference is creating a competitive disadvantage vis-à-vis of the US, knowing that counterparties are exposed to settlement risk, i.e. waiting for cash and securities. This is why the different regulators of these 3 jurisdictions has decided to close the gap by October 11/27 by setting up a dedicated project. So if you look on the top right of the slide, you can see the timeline where the 3 key phases of this project is highlighted. The first key phase is related to the creation of working groups in the different jurisdictions, which end up with the publication of a list of recommendations. For UK, it is a list of 52 recommendations, the so-called Code of Conduct. For Europe, it's 59 recommendations, which has been sent since June by ESMA. And in September, 17 recommendations, which are all aligned with what Europe is doing. The second key phase is 26, with the first phase of implementation. And finally, 27 will be the testing phase, with the ultimate target being the implementation date planned for the 3 jurisdictions at October 11, 27. So when you look at the timeline, we may think that 27 is the key date, and it's definitely not the case. It's 26, knowing that if you look at the 59 recommendation which has been set by ESMA, there is already 24 who has to be implemented by end of 26, with 21 of them being already critical. So early planning is of the essence, knowing that we already know that the impacts are expected on operational processes, organization in terms of coverage, in terms of work hours coverage, and systems. So the sooner a budget is validated this year, the better, in order to ensure that you will be ready by 26. So you'll see afterwards that all the recommendation which has been set under the adhere or explain principle, which may potentially leave a door to not applying one of them. To be honest, it's not possible at all, knowing that if you decide to do so, it would mean that you would have to justify the fact that it's not to the detriment of any of your counterparties. The good news is that since October 13 this year, ESMA has published its final RTS rules, which turns 80% of the recommendation of June into obligation. At least now it's clear, there is no way to swerve. I'm not sure if it's always a good news, but at least it's clear for everyone that there is no way to avoid it. So within the document of October, there was also a key information related to the obligation for CSDs from July 27 onwards to create or to report to the national, let's say, regulators, the top 10 failing counterparties. So, of course, none of our clients want to be part of this list. We don't want any of our clients to be part of this list, and none either. This is why we have already planned to within our project team to work on our top 10 also failing counterparties in order to avoid being part of this list. So we expect also a natural selection of counterparties by 26 already, and it has already started, I can tell you, knowing the discussion we already had with some of our key clients. This selection of counterparty will be especially based on the counterparties which will not be automated enough or not able to process all the post-trade activities already on T. So related to the rationale of this settlement cycle change, you can look at the bottom left of the document. Of course, the promotion is the idea is to promote all the post-trade activity to occur already on T. We are talking here about allocation and confirmation. I will come back to that straight after. Settlement cycle, settlement risk exposure, I talked about it already. Reducing credit or market risk, that's the target. And the other target is improving liquidity within markets by reducing the initial margin requirements between counterparties, as it occurred already in the US, where 40%, where the requirements for initial margin exchange has been reduced by 40%. So this is exactly the target the three jurisdictions are having. And same thing, of course, the target is also to boost the competitiveness of all these markets. So which securities are in scope? We are talking about transactions which are settling at the trading venue, all the securities which are in scope of Article 5.2 of CSDR. With key exceptions, we are talking here mainly about SFTs, securities financing transactions, securities lending, and repos. For repos, we are talking about repos which are documented as single transaction composed of two linked operations. Here, the way we understand this complicated sentence is that there is two ways to instruct a repo. Either you instruct it via the transaction type thread, which is exactly the same transaction type as standard buy and sell instructions, or REPU, R-E-P-U, where in this case the two legs of the repo are highlighted in the transaction, and cash and securities leg. We already know that most counterparties today are not using the standard REPU transaction type, and this is causing a problem at CSDs because they have no way to identify these trades as repos. So in this case, the CSD are not able to differentiate them for over standard buy and sell trades. This is why for these cases, exemptions will not apply. So just to retain here the fact that part of the current working group is also to ensure that the standard transaction type will be used by end of 26, and the repo one is included. So over exemptions, transactions which are executed and negotiated OTC, but executed and reported to a trading venue, IPOs, and finally collateral movements. So here we got a view of what the recommendation in Europe and UK look like. You can see that Europe is much more prescriptive than UK. First of all, because if you look at the number of critical recommendations which are highlighted here for Europe, we are talking about 51, whereas for the UK, it's only 12. So it gives you also the extent of the themes that you see on the left side of the slide give you an idea of the extent of all the impacts which are expected for T+1. We are talking about trading phase, settlement phase, SFTs, matching and confirmation, legal and regulatory, FX, corporate event, clearing, and asset management. So for Switzerland, it's a copy and paste of Europe. If you, let's say, align with what Europe will do, is expecting, you will be aligned by default with what Switzerland is expecting also. So here you got a flavor of what the gating events look like. So the gating events are the list of cutoff which have been let's say set by the regulator in order to ensure a proper schedule of all the post-trade activities in order to ensure a smooth settlement. So on this slide, what you need to retain is that the timing will very much be compressed. In Europe, for example, you will move from 27 hours post-market closing to 6 hours in order to do all the post-trade activities until settlement. So if you look at the bottom left of the slide, you can see information about settlement instructions. And here you can see that settlement instruction at CSD will have to be at the by 11:59 on T for the start of the NTS at T2S, which will start at midnight, whereas today it is the settlement instruction has to be at the CSD at 8 p.m. on T+1 for the start of the NTS at T2S at 8 p.m. on T+1. So same thing for UK. We are moving from 38.5 hours to do all the post-trade activities to 13.5 with settlement instruction at CSD, which has to be there by 6:59 on T from the same on T+1 at Crest. So on this slide, if you look at the legend at the bottom, what is key to retain is that we made the difference between the new cutoffs, i.e. the one which were not existing at all. This is the one in blue with a red circle around. The cutoff which has been modified, which are the blue ones. For UK, the green ones, and for Switzerland, the red ones. So key information at the top is the market closure timing. You can see that 78% of markets in Europe are closing at 6 p.m., whereas 19% at 10, and 19% at 10, and 3% at midnight. So all the ones at the top on the right side are more Germany related, which are knowing that they are handling multi-listed securities in line with the US. So for SFTs, key things to retain is the new recall cutoff, which has been set. It's completely new. It was not existing till now. So 5 p.m. on T for a return by the borrower at 3 p.m. on T+1 and a recall settlement of the securities by 3:30, i.e. 30 minutes before the DVP cutoff. I will not deep dive too much into this. We have a dedicated solution, and I will leave Olivier talking about it straight after. So allocation confirmation, this is one of the biggest hurdles that our clients are facing. It may be buy side or sell side. Here we are talking about moving the cutoff for allocation confirmation from noon on T+1 as per CSDR rule to 11 p.m. on T. This is a game changer because as of today, most of this allocation confirmation is handled by middle office teams from our clients, which are generally working in standard European work hours, i.e. 6 to 7 p.m. CET. Here, the 11 p.m. new cutoff will require a decision to be undertaken by our clients. 3 solutions possible. The first one is either creating a late shift, leveraging a location in a North American time zone, or simply outsourcing that to CACEIS, knowing our middle office solution is already follow the sun, so T+1 ready, and AI driven. So same thing, I will leave that to Mark Baxter, who will explain that to you straight after, knowing that we post our discussion with our clients. We have already a couple of clients who have already started the discussion about the outsourcing of this task. FX transactions, we are moving CLS cutoff from midnight on T+1 to midnight on T. Same thing within our project at CACEIS. We are planning to be as close as possible from this cutoff. So part of our project, clearing from a clearing standpoint, trading venues will have to share the list of trades with their CCP by 10 p.m., which to allow the general clearing members to send the netting reports on dedicated list of trade to their members as soon as possible in order to ensure that the trade from a sell side perspective will be, i.e. on the market side, will be at the CSDs by the start of the NTS. So same thing, we are at CACEIS, knowing that we are offering clearing services. We are part of our project is to ensure that all our let's say internal processes will be aligned with this new reality. So I'm done with the challenges, operational challenges. Follow the sun. Follow the sun is really the backbone of our solution for T+1. We set this up in order to ensure to best anticipate all the challenges required by T+1. By this, we are leveraging our location in Montreal, in Canada, in KL, in Malaysia, and in Europe. The idea is to offer you a real pass the book model with 24 hours, 5 days a week service. This one is more a wrapper of all the challenges you will have to face from a T+2 world to T+1 and how CACEIS can help you. Of course, straight after I will leave the floor to my colleagues who will deep dive into them. So very rapidly, here the idea is to move all operational processes which are not fully STP to STP. We are talking mainly about confirmation, allocation, and everything linked to SSI management. All the operational tasks which are happening on T+1, which will have all to occur before 11 p.m. on T. And follow the sun is definitely the solution here. And all the different tasks that are already happening today, FX, realignment, recalls, also will have to occur in a very much more automated manner. And all the solutions you see on the right are there to cover. Regarding NAV timeline review, here, this is the solution we are offering to our clients. We'll decide to change their settlement cycle from T+2 to, or from T+2 to T+1. And we directly deep dive into the solution we are planning to accompany you through your T+1 journey. And let's start with everything linked to the NAV. Here, what we are anticipating is that most of the funds which are currently settling on T+1 will, on T+3, sorry, will settle on, will move to a T+1 settlement. The idea is to align the settlement cycle between the investor side and portfolio side in order to ensure to avoid for the asset manager to avoid having to deal with the burden linked to liquidity management challenges. The idea also here is to ensure that the contract note will be sent as early as possible to the investor in order to enable them to make the payments. The only exception we see to that is found with Asian investors. For this, we expect more a T+2 settlement cycle to last. Based on our follow the sun model, we are ready to ensure that we will be able to provide you with an early NAV publication and calculation and publication, sorry. And this is why we need to receive from you, from all our clients, the list of funds from which you expect to change the settlement cycle to T+1. The idea is to ensure that the timeline you are expecting will be feasible and that it will fit into our follow the sun model to accompany you as best as possible. So I leave the floor now to my colleague, Mark Axel, for trade management.
Thank you, Camille. I'm going to provide a brief overview of the CACEIS middle office service and how that can help navigate some of the issues that you will come across as a result of some of the challenges that have just been spoken about. Obviously, the key change is that all transactions are going to need to be confirmed before 11 p.m. on trade day, with the pressure being placed on all parties involved to complete the various stages of the trade life cycle within the condensed period. So, post-execution trade matching, SSI enrichment, dissemination of trade data to custodians, and then management of failed trades at the end of that cycle. So the CACEIS middle office service is designed to mitigate these risks through, firstly, the structure of our operating model, and also the utilisation of our core middle office systems that we use to facilitate more timely processing and delivery of transactional data. The technology used by CACEIS at the moment is already supporting over 70 clients and 30,000 transactions a month. So probably the key benefits we'd like to run through very quickly. Firstly, the utilisation of the follow the sun model that Camille's mentioned a couple of times. So operating 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, using the teams in Malaysia, Paris and Montreal. Trade instructions can be accepted by CACEIS in multiple formats, so ease of connection between yourselves and CACEIS via Swift SFTP file or portal OLIS. We're utilising AI tools to identify and address any issues or trends that are applicable within the trade flow. to ensure that the likelihood of any failed trades or mismatch further down the line are avoided. The CACEIS standard that we're currently working to is that we have a 1% trade failure rate against the market standard of roughly 5%. And that's something that we're improving on continuously also as a result of the AI approach. The trades in question will also be automated in terms of the flow into the other services that are provided by CACEIS. Probably the final point, the middle office trade management service is an alternative for those clients that don't wish to adopt our execution to custody service, which is something that I'm going to pass over to my colleague Pascal to speak about. Thank you.
Thank you. I think up to Pascal to jump into the execution to custody solution.
Thank you, guys. Our 24/5 follow the sun E2C, which is execution to custody offer, is a fully integrated solution that starts with the best execution, obviously, through our dealing room, and ends with the settlement, DVP, RVP, and custody. CACEIS actually acts as a single entry point, providing connectivity to all markets, plus STP transaction management, guaranteeing our clients time savings, particularly in the context of T+1 implementation in Europe, and obviously a significant reduction in operating costs, allowing them to focus on what matters most. 300 plus clients have already trusted CACEIS and its dealing room and dealing teams of over 27 experts. CACEIS covers over 80 markets and trades on equities, bonds, and listed derivatives.
Perfect. Thank you, Pascal. So execution to custody, or if you already using execution to custody or plan to use it, same thing for middle office. You will not have to worry about settlement processes, knowing that we will manage everything on your behalf. I like to say that execution to custody is our magic solution, full hands-off solution. But let's move to the custody. So key thing to retain here is that partial settlement will become the default for all instruction from 27 onwards. All non-release and partial release functionalities will become mandatory for all CSDs. Corporate action key dates, like ex-date or record date, will have to be aligned, and buyer protections and claims processing will have to be automated by XML, i.e. the 20/022 format. For all this, CACEIS is either ready to move forward already today or has already integrated this development into our roadmap. So I will stop there and I will leave the floor to Attila Torma. Sorry.
Thanks, Kamal, for the introductory words. So we will now go through the main points related to the FX transactions. Regarding our foreign exchange services, our FX team too will of course support you through this major post-trade change. The shift to a T+1 settlement cycle for the securities transactions will undoubtedly trigger the need to provide appropriate execution services in the associated FX orders as well. I can confirm that CACEIS already has fully flexible FX solutions regarding this transition to the T+1 settlement cycle. And when we discuss these solutions, we can clearly distinguish between AutoFX, the currency overlay services, and the direct FX. All these three services are already prepared for the necessary adaptation. However, from these three, let me emphasize, first of all, the importance of the AutoFX service, which will remain a favorable option. Is it advantageous for you as clients because it provides an outsourced and automated solution to the fund managers and asset owners who will be, of course, under considerable pressure with the need to execute the FX orders within a very short time frame from the moment of the implementation of this new cycle. This AutoFX service, which is a fully STP service available for funds in CACEIS custody, will cover the FX spot transactions generated by the securities conversions, also from subscriptions, redemptions, or dividend repatriation, or the residual cash in deliverable and non-deliverable currencies. So even in this shortened settlement cycle. So this will essentially replicate its current functionality, but be better adapted to the T+1 cycle of the buying and selling of the securities. If we opt for the currency overlay services solution, we also ensure that this service offered for the checkless hedging and portfolio hedging can be 100% adapted as well to the change in the settlement cycle of the securities. And if necessary, this service can also adapt to the new value dates of the subscriptions and redemptions if needed in the future. So this flexibility also applies to the direct FX service, which is managed by our FX desk here in the dealing room. So you can contact us to trade the FXs directly with our traders within our opening hours or through the electronic platforms, which are accessible 24/7. But in all cases, I can confirm that we will offer extended cutoff times for FX spot trading with T+1 value date or even for same-day value, depending, of course, on the currency pairs involved and the amount to be traded. So on same-day value, we will work on best effort basis. So to reassure, if you wish to trade outside of our business hours, we can provide you with the access to the electronic platforms, and then you have access to trade 24 hours in order to align with the shortened settlement cycle of the securities transactions. So to sum it up, flexible solutions are in place, and service adaptation is feasible within the necessary time frame. Therefore, we will be pleased to support you through this upcoming major change. Thank you.
Thank you, Attila. So to confirm that we are ready to support our clients for their funding, let's say, challenges with the key hands-off solution being AutoFX. So now I leave the floor to Olivier Zem to talk about securities lending and securities borrowing.
Thank you, Kamel. Hello again. So for T+1 in Europe, we could think that we could easily leverage on what we've done so far for US T+1, but we have to bear in mind it's a little bit more complex. Here we are dealing with something like 20 CSDs, 2 ICSDs with different cutoff and cross-border to manage. So we have to really look into this topic deeply, and especially when we talk about sec lending. So Kamel mentioned that sec lending are outside the scope of T+1 because we already operate in T0 or T+1. However, we must ensure that those activities will not impact negatively the fund manager and the settlement of sales. So in other words, we need to keep on improving the settlement discipline, especially given the existence of CSDR penalties. So how we can we be better at settlement discipline? We identified 2 main channels. The first one will be automation of the entire communication chain in order to eliminate manual tasks and reduce any friction. So for this one, we can easily leverage on what we've done so far for US T+1 and all the development we've done internally or externally. The second leverage for this one would be to continue investing in technology, whether they are internal or external, to develop solutions for pay matching, collateral settlement, collateral exchange, and also recall notification. The good point is all those technologies are already in use and already available. The second channel we identified is to receive information as quickly as possible. So on one side, you can automate the flow, but to do so, you need to receive information. And when we talk information, what's very critical for us would be the information of sales, in order for us to analyze what we have to do once we receive this information. Three kind of action: whether we do nothing, because nothing is out on loan; we reallocate if the lendable pool allows us to do so. So basically to borrow from another fund or another client. And finally, to recall. So recall is really the ultimate action we will perform. Just to give some comfort, there are some statistics from the industry that out of 100 sales, only 3 or 4 will trigger a recall. So we have to be very aware of this kind of figures. And also it highlights the fact that the bigger the lendable pool, the lower the recalls, because again, we can reallocate internally. Then if we move to recommendation to ensure a smooth transition, here we are seeing 3 main points. The first one, we touch base briefly on it, would be sales intention. And we go back to the how quickly we can receive the information of sales. So what we call sales intention, basically, is the communication flow between the portfolio manager to us directly. So right now, a portfolio manager will send information of a sales to the dealing desk. And there is a process that is being used right now by some clients, is that we also, on the lending side, receive this information of sales. So it's very important to get some extra minutes, extra hours to act and send a recall notification to the market. Second point would be the partial settlements. It's going to be mandatory very soon, Kamel mentioned it, but we need to anticipate it and to be live, encourage this kind of process to deliver the position to the fund as soon as they are available. This could also reduce some potential CSDR penalties. Finally, what we see as a recommendation, what we could develop, is the intraday lending. So on this one, we also have a solution where the client can borrow from us. We have 2 types of program. The one we call fail coverage and another one we call auto borrow. The objectives are the same. If we see a short position from a client, the objective is to lend the stocks, the bond to those clients in order to offset any potential CSDR penalties. So in conclusion, for us, we don't see this new regulation as a threat, but rather an opportunities. For clients who are willing to enter lending, we see additional revenues because the volume should increase. We witnessed it when the US moved to T+1, and we don't see any reason why it should be different for the EU, Switzerland, and UK. And also, there is another way to reduce the CSDR penalty, as I mentioned, by borrowing from CACEIS. So all in all, we anticipate an increase in revenues globally in the sec lending industry.
Perfect. Thank you, Olivier. So just to wrap up what you just said, so sec lending intention-based recall is the solution to align with the new reality that will be available by October 27. And regarding securities borrowing, more and more success for this service, knowing that this service is a result of an arbitrage between the borrowing cost and the penalties cost in the market. For now, not much successful from a buy-side perspective, but more from a sell-side perspective. But we expect this to become much more successful from a buy-side perspective with CSDR refit, knowing that CSDR penalties are planned to be multiplied by 20 to 25 with CSDR refit. So more opportunities for buy-side clients to make some arbitrage in order to avoid paying the CSDR penalties. So we are done with the presentation. So this slide is a wrap-up of all what we've said. Just in case you need to come back to the slides where we will share them afterwards. This is just giving you the list of challenges we'll have to face and your different needs and how CACEIS can support you. And if you need afterwards any demo of any of the solution on maybe dedicated deep dive solution, our experts are there to help you, and we can arrange some specific session depending on the topic you are the most interested in.
So thank you to our speaker of the day for this very enriching speech. We have already received some questions that we will now be raising. If we ever run out of time with the question in the chat, do not hesitate to contact your relationship manager, who will not fail to give you a solution and feedback. So I think the first one, maybe it's for Kamal. What are the evolutions that CACEIS has implemented in view of T+1?
Thank you, Caroline.
You're welcome.
So evolution at CACEIS has started a long time ago, knowing that we have started last year with the implementation of a follow the sun model, which is the backbone of our solution for a smooth transition to T+1. It has been set to overcome the hurdles which have been identified when we have made our first gap analysis based on the November 24 reconciliation document, which has been issued by ESMA. Straight after, we have started some client sessions since March 25, and then we have moved forward on gap analysis. It has evolved based on the UK Code of Conduct documents, the ESMA documents of June and October, which has allowed us to identify some IT development, for which the budget has already been validated and integrated in our 26 roadmap. The regulation is not stable yet. We are still anticipating by January 26 the publication of the final implementation playbook and the settlement user manual. We are already planning to ensure that any new gaps identified following the publication of this document will be included into our roadmap to ensure our clients and CACEIS readiness by October 27.
Thank you so much. So next one, as a client, could I be charged additional fees, penalties if I am engaged in securities and lending program? I guess this one is for you.
Yes, thank you. So it's a tricky question. The short answer is no, but there is a condition. So again, we really touch base and not touch base. We insisted on the fact that cutoff are very important, and we need to receive the information as soon as possible. So as long as the client is sending the information, especially the sales, within the cutoff, there will be no additional penalty for sure. So all the liabilities will sit between CACEIS, the lender, and the borrowers. But again, we need to be not strict, but to really insist on the fact that cutoff are very important. Discipline is key if we want to have a smooth transition. So obviously, the objective of sec lending is to have strictly no impact whatsoever on the fund management activity. So whether it's settlement or cost. So to us, we don't anticipate any increase in penalties as long as the cutoff are respected.
Thank you so much. Next one, do you expect any change with your cutoff time for FX settlement with the change of T+1, and how do you ensure to have competitive FX rates prices? I think this one is for you, Attila.
Exactly. Thank you for the question.
Welcome.
There will be no change in cutoff times for clients, and no change in cutoff times between CACEIS and its banking counterparties at market either. So moving from T+2 to T+1, there's no change. Also, I'd like to confirm there will be no change in capacity of trading with the T+1 or even with the value same day value. So we will continue like we do actually, so no change in this trading capacity either. Regarding when we talk about the competitive rates, let's distinguish the different services. If we talk about the auto FX, the FX deals, I can say that there will be transparently priced on the Reuters WMR fixings. And if we talk about the direct FX, for example, all of our FX deals are traded over the counter, so in OTC way, which means that client can always check at the moment of the execution if the offered rate is competitive or not, and can challenge it within the negotiation of the pricing.
Thank you so much. So how do you manage late instruction and how do you expect to respect the new cutoff for confirmation at 11 p.m. on T and settlement instruction at CSD by 11:59 p.m. T? And what is your average matching rate on T for equities and bonds? This is a long one. Mark, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so firstly, our current matching rate on T is 93%. In terms of the late instruction side of things, then I guess the important side of this is that it's essentially an electronic handshake that we're achieving on trade day. So it does need both sides of the transaction to engage and agree the transaction details. So the kind of 7% or missing 7% at the moment that we have is typically due to manual kind of exchange of contract notes and so on, a manual process that allows us to confirm the trade details on behalf of clients. But this is part of the change that's coming with the T+1 program. It is going to become mandatory for counterparties to exchange that information in a machine readable format. So the market as a whole will kind of get on board with the change in the requirement for the electronic exchange of details. So that 93% will increase quite rapidly, I would expect, over the coming months into the kind of the delivery of the T+1 change.
Thank you so much. Oh, so there is a lot of questions. What would be the benefit of subscribing to execution to custody, and would it facilitate a smooth transition through T+1?
So this is mine. As mentioned earlier, the most important benefits in subscribing to the EPC Follow the Sun offer are the single entry point, obviously, the large scope of connectivity, the reduction in execution and settlement fees, and more broadly, all operating costs, shortening therefore the settlement cycle to meet T+1. And lastly, avoiding CSDR penalties. CACEIS would deal with your trades from A to Z and would bear the CSDR penalties, if any. As a reminder, more than 300 clients have secured their operation through CACEIS and through our offer.
Thank you so much, Pascal. Is there a minimum exposure percentage from which a settlement cycle change is required? And what are the other criteria to be considered? Canal, I think it's for you.
I think it's for me, thank you. Yeah, so minimum exposure, there is none. No minimum exposure percentage from which settlement cycle change is required. With the EU, and UK and Switzerland transition to T+1, what you need to retain is that by 27, most portfolio will have 100% exposure to T+1, knowing that the US has already migrated last year. This would logically means that from an asset manager perspective, aligning investor and portfolio settlement cycle would ease their life by fixing all their liquidity management challenges at once. But based on the discussion we already had with clients, none of them have already decided to take this route. So they are currently brainstorming internally. And what we are recommending them is that first to discuss with their distribution networks, platforms and banks, to ensure that they will be able to cope with this new funding deadline on T+1. So the other question was?
Yeah, I will repeat it. So what are the other criteria to be considered?
Okay, so to name a few, So,
We are limited of time.
yeah.
Go ahead.
We are not supposed to make any advisory, so I would say to name a few. Just to
Be
start with.
transparent.
Yeah, let's say that. So the other areas to consider are also subscription redemptions cutoffs, pricing and valuation of assets, especially for OTC and swaps investments. So let's say that discussions with vendors have to occur too. From a CACEIS perspective, our OTC pricing team is already planned to ensure prices availability to enable an AV calculation and publication early in the morning, as it is required by most of the regulators currently. For France, for example, the early NAV validation by asset manager also has to be considered. Capabilities to be early in the morning at your office will be also a key point to consider. Prospectus updates and investor information in all countries where your funds are distributed are also key. So just to summarize what I was saying, it's not a one-way ticket, definitely not. It is a collaborative journey. So you need to start discussing with your vendors, distributors, counterparties and service providers, especially if for TA, custody and FA and fund accounting, all the services are not offered by the same entities, you're gonna have to start a trial of discussions. So the sooner the better, if you want to ensure that you will be there on time and to make it happen.
Thank you. I think we're gonna move to quality because there was a question. What would be the optimal process to guarantee smooth
Transition, I think that optimal process would be anticipation. You need to anticipate. I think Carmel mentioned it many times. Again, we realized successfully the transition for US T+1. I think the big mistake would be it would be exactly the same for EU. It's going to be a bit more complex. You need to engage with your different providers, CACEIS, all the external vendors to make sure we are all up to date and ready for the move. No one is taking the topic very lightly, so I'm pretty sure everyone is ready and everyone's got a solution. Investment has been in place, everything has been budgeted. But if we speak about second lending only, again, it will be really transmission of information thanks to sales intention, sales notification. And make sure that your provider has automated everything in a good way. So we've done it for US because of the time zone difference. So right now, if we look at what we are doing, whenever we receive a sales notification in the system will analyze automatically what it has to do. Nothing, again, reallocate or recall. And the recall notification will be sent automatically. So the objective, again, is to automate the flow of communication between the client, CACEIS lending team, and CACEIS borrowers. Once you have all this in place and you are sure that all the actors are on the same page, the transition will be smooth. So again, anticipation and talk to your providers.
Thank you so much. I think we'll have the time almost for 2 questions. So, are you planning to review your safekeeping policy based on your market standards? So, I think it's again for you, Kamal.
Thank you.
A lot of questions.
You're too nice with me. Thank you very much. Okay, so changing the safekeeping policy. But, yeah, this is a point that has been quite often raised by our clients because the discussion is staying around market norms. For safekeeping policy, there is none. So, should we move to an ICSD priority for safekeeping, or that's a question. Okay, so what we are planning to do at CACEIS is to ensure that we are very close to reality. We're gonna discuss with all our agents to ensure to define where the liquidity stands exactly, and we will adapt our safekeeping policy to this reality. By this way, there will be no interpretation and no, we not need to move from one side to the other depending on each counterparty's desire. So we definitely think this is the right route to take in order to ensure that it will have the right safekeeping policy in line with the market reality.
So I think we have the time for one last question because there's 3 minutes remaining. So do you have any dependencies on clients that we should be aware of to ensure a smooth transition to T+1? So again, I think it's for you.
Okay, too kind. Thank you again. Okay, so dependency on a client's responsiveness is definitely related to decision on how to move investor settlement cycle to T+1. Changing from T+3 to T+2, not much impact from an operational perspective, but T+1 is a game changer from our client standpoint, but also from CACEIS standpoint. We did everything to be ready with our follow the sun model. We just need to integrate your desire into our solution, and we are ready for that. But we need to know which one you want to apply. It will have to apply. So the sooner you come to us, the better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for all this interesting response. So I think maybe it's time for the final word because we're running out of time. So if you want to add something, there's no question anymore. So maybe the last word will be yours, Kamel.
Again, I keep repeating that. Thank you for the last word. At CACEIS, we start very early our project. We know we are confident that we will be ready by end of 27 and even earlier. We are bringing the right solution to accompany you along your T+1 journey. We have our to-do, but you have yours. We expect to work with you in order to make it happen. So don't hesitate to come to your relationship manager if anything is expecting from us. We plan also at CACEIS to create a dedicated web page in order to allocate all the key information available in the market, a dedicated FAQ, and we will create also a dedicated email address in order for you to enable to get the right response to any question you may have on the topic.
Thank you so much to all our speakers. Thank you to Pascal, Marc, Olivier, and last but not least, Kamel.
Okay.
So if you have any question, please feel free to contact your relationship manager or our expert, and we will leave it there for today.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.